This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
And I'm going to grab a copy of the agenda, but yeah, we get started whenever.
It is 6:02. I will now call to order this meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. This meeting is being recorded. This meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission will be conducted in person and simultaneously via remote participation online to the greatest extent possible. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on the City of Easthampton website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Should an interruption occur in which the online meeting ends abruptly, both the in-person and online meetings will not be restarted, and all agenda items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting. Are there any public concerns or non-agenda items?
I haven't received any. I see two people here from the public. If you have anything that's not related to something that's already on the agenda, you can go ahead and let us know. Yeah, I'm not seeing any indication.
All right, hearing none, we'll move on to public hearings. Our first item is a public hearing continued from 12/12/2022 for a notice of intent filed by Furrow Engineering on behalf of Tasty Top Development LLC for a new mixed-use commercial and residential development with associated stormwater management system at 93, 95, and 97 Northampton Street at 128, lot 112, 113, and 114, Mass DEP file number 1510322. And I understand that the applicant has requested a continuance to our next meeting.
That's correct. They'd like to go to the next meeting is January 23rd.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to continue to January 23rd.
Second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. August? Aye. Patrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye. No, it's a new
Weeks?
Aye.
Carr?
Aye.
Motion carries. People aren't in their normal spots.
I know.
Oh dear, oh dear.
It's tricky.
All right, so that will be continued until it's January 23rd, is that correct? Yes,
Yeah.
at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
All right. Are there any requests for certificate of compliance?
No.
Moving on to enforcement actions. Do we have any updates, Kathy, on A through C?
I have an update. So for item D, they have not yet submitted the restoration plan. And I apologize if that was something that the commission wanted to get. I just communicated to them that they could continue that because I thought we were going to pair that discussion with the notice of intent hearing discussion. And so they are planning to bring some of the restoration plan on the 23rd.
Okay, and that's all been clarified?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, so we'll look for that on January 23rd. Any open space updates?
I have paid the first invoice that I've received for Land Stewardship Inc.'s work. And I've not yet received the final project from the Conway School student who was making that kind of plan of what could be done there. So it's kind of a feasibility type study.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? All right, moving on to compliance updates. Which ones do you have updates for, Kathy?
The main one that I had for was 6973 the House Bill.
Which letter is that?
Sorry, that is item K.
Okay.
And let me pull up my here. So I was away for a week, and when I returned, I had received a message from an abutter regarding a possible violation that related to, it looked like turbid water in the wetland area that was essentially in their backyard, but abuts the project on the other side. And so I conducted a site visit that same day, and I didn't see evidence. The water there didn't look turbid anymore. The message was received on December 23rd, and I went out to do a site visit on January 3rd. So some days had gone by, but it was actively raining when I was there. And I didn't see the water was turbid at that time, and I didn't see any evidence that anything had failed along that area that would have caused that area to be turbid from the project site. I did discover a different breach from one of the key areas that had been identified before. All the other areas were still good, but that one had been failing. I notified them, they came out pretty much the next day and fixed it. And I did a site visit after that. It looks like it was holding good. But I did notice, but I was trying to think about what could be the cause of the turbid water. The abutter of the abutter. So there's 63 Loudville Road, and then I don't know the number. I have to look it up. But their neighbor looks like they may have been doing some tree clearing there and some kind of work. It's not. It's kind of confusing in the pictures that I got because it's hard to tell when you're in the project site when you're out of it. But I didn't know. It seemed like it might constitute a violation. That might be the source of the turbid water at that time that they experienced. But I wanted to share that to see if the commission wanted to pursue anything else. I can pull those pictures up now.
Did 2 or 3 people hang up?
Did. So the other 2 are these two other computers, and those are members of the public, so they were probably here for the tasty top by now. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I'm going to just cycle through all here. Oh, another part of the project violation that I found was that there was 2 catch basins that weren't covered. They didn't have their protection had failed. They fixed those 2. So all those catch basins are now covered. And that breach was fixed. So let me just cycle through here quick to find the pictures that were from the other abutter. And then I'll share my screen. And actually, I know Commissioner August, you had said that you had other concerns about the site that you might want to bring up. I'm looking for those. I think you can go ahead if you want.
It was about the stockpiles. There's several really large stockpiles, and I went back into the conditions from January 21, and we have number 47, all stockpiles of soils existing for more than 1 day shall be surrounded by a row of entrenched silt fence and shall be covered or otherwise suitably stable. And I was just curious because in the pictures that Cassie had taken, I had only seen 1 stockpile from the back. It was right along. They had just the back side had erosion control, but the other ones are just open, including a stockpile of stone. So I didn't count how many there were, but there was substantial size, and there's so many in that one area, and then it's just all mud and rock. So I didn't know if do we have any say over size or those size limits, how big they can be, how many they can have? Because it's bigger than even the project. If you look at the pictures.
Probably, I don't think we would have any control over the size or number of the stockpiles, but I'm sure this project has a SWIP, right, Nancy? I think it's greater than an acre, so it would be under the construction general.
Yes, it does have a SWIP.
So that would outline in more detail their erosion and sedimentation controls. Do we have any pictures, Deb, of what you're?
I have some pictures from the site visit.
Which date was it?
This was
You were
on.
looking at them?
I have 2 dates that might be applicable for what you want to see here for this one. It's the 3rd and 5th of January. In
2022.
2023, January, just recently.
I just looked at that and seen anything under 20.
Oh, I just opened it.
Oh, well, I said the order of conditions was January 21. Nothing's coming up.
So the file path would be site visits and then monitoring reports and then site visits.
Monitoring reports for an NOI.
Can we work on just getting it up on the
Yeah, I'll get up on the next screen. So they're there, but I can show you how to get into it in a second. So what I can say is that when I was there, if I remember correctly, because I admit that wasn't what I was focusing on when I was there, and I'll do another one to see what I can see and focus on that. Most of the big stockpiles were vegetated on top. They pretty much entirely vegetated.
That was my memory from when we went up in October with it.
Yeah. I mean, the site is definitely still like muddy. These silt fences, this is from the 5th. Just took pictures to note that the new silt fences have been put in place.
And just for orientation, is that a road that's now back into the development, or is that's not,
Into the development. Yeah, they've paved not the entire road, but that first circle to the left and then a part of the way to the right. So I'm realizing these are my pictures from the 5th, so they won't have better pictures of the stockpiles. Let me go to the 3rd. Okay, good. Okay, so this is the breach. This is the breach that I found that they've since fixed. But it is next to a big stockpile. Down is bad.
That's the same one we found back in October.
That's right. It's one of the, there was 3 main violation areas before. The other ones were doing good. But this one.
Had they repaired it in between?
Yes, yep, exactly. Same area, same area.
go
Okay,
back for just a second?
go back.
Yep.
The project is on the left, over here.
It looks like there's some seepage coming
Yes.
through there.
That's all part, this is still part of that one spot. I kind of was, it was like a stretch of an area.
That looks intact though, so it seems like it's still getting through even where it's not failed.
Okay. I'll go back. Okay, so this is one of the stockpiles, not vegetated. This is right near the breach area. They have like a line of that's like chopped up tree material there as kind of an attempted berm, but obviously wasn't enough for there. That's one of them. There's one in the rear here. And that was the broken inlet.
What are the protections they have in the catch basins? It looks like plastic.
It's this plastic sheet here, and it's pretty much, I don't know if you can tell from this image, but it's like right almost flush with the surface.
It's not the normal thing you can see in catch basin.
Is it not? Okay.
No,
you want
you've
something
got
different?
plastic there and nothing can get through it, so you're just gonna weight it down until it collapses.
I think the reasoning is that it's not connected to the final stormwater management system is not completed.
Okay.
So I think that's why, but if they shouldn't be doing that way, I can figure it out. But that's my understanding because their road isn't even finished yet. So I
just wouldn't think it would hold if it gets weighed down in the water. I don't think it would
Looks
fall.
like it's already in October.
2 of them were good, 2 of them were broken. So I think they just need to make sure they're fixing that. But yeah, if you want them to do it a different way, I can reach out and tell them. But. Okay, this is one of the vegetated stockpiles, a blurry picture. Roadway, that's the main road.
Like some of the stockpiles just have a bunch of like straw.
So it looks like straw, but when I was there in the summertime, it was like grown up and now it's fallen over.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's definitely a few stockpiles that don't have it, so I can talk to them about it. And we want the silt fencing around the bottom. All right. So this one is vegetated, but I think on the other side, that's more interior to the project, it's probably being scooped away.
What is the black? What is that row of black?
This right here.
Keep saying.
So yeah, they took, when they cleared a number of trees for this project, they kept that material and made like a chipped wood berm around all the silt fencing as well. That's just like an additional measure. This is a butter, but we can come back to this in a second if you want, but cleared trees and such.
So where did the clearing take place?
So basically the entrance is like behind me.
The entrance to
The site.
project site?
Yep, to the project site is behind me. The project is to the left. This is the abutter's property, primarily what you're seeing here.
This is closer to town, that side.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I can pull up the house, the property number here in a minute. I believe that's correct.
Do you have pictures of the trees that were cleared by the neighbor?
Yeah, so I shifted gears because people were asking about the stockpiles, but I can go back. I got better pictures. I got one picture this time and I got better pictures the next time I came out. Because I wanted to get permission from the property owner who originally reached out to me to go on his property so I could try to get a better look. But most of these pictures, it's not focused on the stockpiles, unfortunately, so like I said, I can go again and get better pictures.
I think they're toward the end,
Okay,
the ones, I was like,
The ones you were looking at?
yes,
Toward
toward the end of the picture.
Okay.
oh, there's a good one.
Yes.
So we're just panning left. Or to the right, I should say.
And construction ongoing, or are they shut down for the
They're
winter?
shut down for the winter.
So yeah, those all should have been properly stabilized if they're walking away for winter.
Okay. Okay, well then I'll reach out. Do you want to see more? Or do you want to see the violation?
What are we
pictures?
looking at now? Just one of the basins in
This is the big main basin.
Okay.
That's kind of all to the, I say the west of the property, I suppose.
To the rear.
Yeah,
corner.
yeah, yep. It's a really good like overview of it all. So you can see some of the completed houses way in the background there. And it kind of extends back that way, but this is all the mainly uncompleted area. Okay. Just the breach spot again. So we kind of made it all the way around. So blurry. So I'm basically going around and looking at the other spots that had failed in the past, but everywhere else seemed good. There wasn't anything leaving the site, so.
So is there also a condition in there about stabilizing surfaces, not just stockpiles that were going to be left?
I actually printed a couple of pages if you want a bunch that write about the side of the house. It's supposed to be in a certain area, and if it isn't, it's saying double straw walls, double stacks.
Double stack of straw bales. But that's,
And if you get close and look at those pictures, there's trash.
There's some
a
trash.
tire, there's coffee cups, there's trash.
Does anyone remember if there were approved stockpile areas on the plan?
I don't remember that being the case.
I don't remember that either.
Your warrant, there also requires to be covered.
Let's cast, I don't know, I only printed a couple.
Yeah, I can pull the whole thing out if you guys want.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we ought to ask them just to improve their site practices and bring us the stockpile condition. Especially since they're shut down for the winter,
Mm-hmm.
such as it is.
Actually, it's such a rainy winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, for any soils to be disturbed for longer than 14 days, a temporary cover of rye or other grass should be established to prevent erosion and sedimentation. Season is not appropriate for plant growth. Exposed surfaces shall be stabilized by other appropriate erosion control measures, firmly anchored to prevent soils from being washed by rain or flooding. So I think they have quite a bit of shoring up to do. There appears to be a lot of mud moving around on that site.
Okay.
Thank you, Deb.
Okay. All right, so for the neighbor,
I can actually. Kathy, that was, number 44.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll go through the whole thing either way. Let's see. Okay. So these images are from the 5th after that name breach had been repaired, and then I had gotten permission from the person who reached out to me originally to go onto their property to get a better look at where potentially that silty water could have been coming from. It didn't look turbid when I went out there this time, but yeah, so this is the neighbor's yard. That is the silt fence there in the background. You can probably see at the bottom of that stockpile there, and then this is all the abutters property. It's not the project site, but I didn't issue a permit to remove any trees, nor a tree cutting policy permit. If you remember that thing we got in place.
And is this in wetland?
Yeah, at least on 100-foot buffer zone. I don't know if it's within the wetlands explicitly. I have to like cross check it with the map, but
Is this the Gall property?
I believe so.
Jay, were you here when we did that before?
I've been to Mr. Gall a couple times,
Yeah.
Mr. Gall's property, and he has these ponds, which he says were like, where they remove clay to make bricks, but now they're kind of like, that was a long time ago, now they're kind of wetlands.
Yeah. Certainly the area behind me has been identified as a wetland, but by the, for the project, for the 6973 Dodville project, the older conditions solidified those as being wetlands. I don't believe that they're isolated, and having 100-foot buffer zone associated with them. So this seems to me to be certainly within the 100-foot buffer zone of the wetlands that are behind me in this image, at least.
So is this looking up at that big basin area?
No, the basin would actually be behind me.
Oh, okay.
And like kind of to the right, I guess, from behind me. But yeah, because the project extends pretty far beyond. We're kind of looking towards some of the more finished houses would be on the other side of that stockpile.
Good.
I know we spent a lot of time looking at what he was doing there years ago. I don't know if we did an actual enforcement
I
action.
don't remember formal enforcement, but
Yeah.
it was kind of like, he was trying to pull logs out of these little ponds so the ducks could have more room to swim around or something. Trust me, I was there.
Yeah, I just remember making my chips. You
He
know?
likes to cut wood. Likes to cut.
Yep. So I don't know if we have a file.
You could look and see if there's something up,
Yeah.
but I don't remember doing an enforcement order. I think we just went up there and said, hey, you can't have your tractor in the water.
Right.
You can't be dragging logs out of the water. Wetland.
And we have that other picture. That's
Yeah.
the file.
Yeah, I got more, yeah. So I got some other angles.
Oh, so this is the same spot.
Yeah, it's all the same spot.
Okay.
It's all the same spot. not a huge area, I guess you could say, but certainly an area that seems to me to be within the 100-foot buffer zone, this wetland that I'm looking at here.
I know rivers out there are there.
It's too high. I think it's all this areas that were excavated for clay and now they're just wetlands.
Hannum Brook.
Isolated wetlands.
Yeah. On the other extreme end of the property, the project property, there's Hannum Brook is down below.
It's way down below. Everything, all the real rivers are way down below this.
Yeah. I thought I remember like, I don't know, probably.
It's like this weird series of like drainage. So this is, I'm on the person who originally, 63, Loudville, who originally reached out to me on his property. This is the opposite side of where the Gall property is. Because I was trying to see like, well, where does the water go? It goes into this weird ditch and then I don't know where, but I don't know if it would constitute like a stream or anything. It certainly is like channelized here, but the delineation that we got from the project doesn't extend into this. Okay, coming back. Let's see here.
Was Gall, didn't Gall's name come up around the Northampton Road?
Yeah, there's another, I don't know if it's the same Gall.
Property over there.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's in a butter to the Northampton project.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same Gall. There's like multiple people within the family.
Yeah, that's the same person.
37.
Yeah, that's Bernie, B's Bernie, so that's his brother.
Okay.
That's Ed's brother. Bernie passed away. He did.
I believe so.
Well, I knew he was not doing well, but I didn't know he passed away.
Does that mean his enforcement order?
No, enforcement order applies to the property.
Property owner. Okay, so now the stockpile that you saw in that first picture is kind of to my right, and I'm looking down towards the property. And mainly, yeah, this is what you're talking about, because this is kind of the one other view I got of it. You can see kind of like, it's kind of made this path to
I think it's a
the,
different picture. It's got the stockpile in it, and you can see the row of straw bales. Then you can see a plow, and then a pile of logs.
that might be on the project area, actually, if that's what you're describing.
Is there a chance that there's a forest cutting plan for this project?
Possibly, but
Parcel rather.
I'm not familiar with it, but I can look into it.
I think they weren't gonna remove that many trees, right? So, remove a few trees.
It's hard to say.
Can you see the numbers on the JPEGs?
Yes,
I wrote down the last four numbers, 5423 JPEG, and then 4390 JPEG. There's so many I haven't.
I know.
I figured if I narrowed it, I can see it.
You said 5423?
5423 is the one that has the trash and the tire, and then the 4390, I have trees and machinery in the area. And that's what you told me it was the other side of the project.
Yeah.
That's the other.
See if this works. I'm so sorry. 54, can you tell me one more time?
5423.
Maybe it's from the other day, because they're not coming up for here.
The other one is 4390.
There we go. Okay, it's from the other day. Yeah, okay. So this is that same property. The project is still left here. I'm standing inside the project, but this is outside of it here. Yeah, is this the plow here, Deb? This yellow? And like, that looks like a,
Is that the one that has the plow to the right?
I think so. I mean, y'all can see it. It's yellow?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I guess it's clearer when you're looking at the computer.
Yeah, right.
And then I think to the left, in the back, there was several piles of cut trees.
Yep.
I said, why would they have that in the project area? So,
Yeah, sorry. I know it's confusing. Oh my gosh. But
Yeah.
You said they shipped everything else up to make like a little berm, right?
Yeah, I've not seen any like logs stockpiled on the project site.
Yeah.
They chipped
This
those
is
in.
not the project
This is
site.
not the project site.
Right over the fence.
Exactly.
And the wetland line would be further to the right. or
Yeah,
Further back.
I think it's to the right. If you want to, I think it'd be worth it to pull up the plan and I can show you.
And were you seeing evidence, Cassie, of more movement of soils towards the wetland?
No, not really, but it seemed like a potential source of why that area would have been turbid, but at that day, I didn't see it, unfortunately.
You said it was raining that day.
It was. Yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to find a good one that shows.
It's hard to tell, but it still looked like there was a lot of like ground cover, you know,
Yes,
on the glitter on that cleared parcel.
I agree. Okay, so this is the, I don't know if you can see my cursor. I can get up if you can't see it. So where this kind of like hashing is, this dotted area, that's the wetlands. That was the area that I got a call for, that the property owner there. This to the left, this other kind of more white parcel, basically above where it says typical building footprint, this area up here is where it looks like the clearing has occurred. So the 100-foot buffer zone is this line up here. So it's certainly that whole property, almost, yeah, the entire property is within either wetlands, looks like potentially extend down this way. This one is isolated, unfortunately, but almost all entirely in the 100-foot buffer zone. Excuse me.
And the line that continues behind the text for the typical building footprint, that is BBW.
I believe so, yeah, because like it's continued here a little bit, so it looks like somewhere within here it's continued. Yeah, oh, please, yeah. So like,
Cutting ordinance requires permissions for the buffer zone as well as wetland area buffer, is that correct?
so our tree cutting policy basically has, if you're gonna cut within the buffer zone, you have to be at least 50 feet away from the BBW edge, and you need to still get like this kind of revised permit type situation, so.
Yep. Yeah, I should try to figure out what we did.
Okay, I can research what we did in the past. It's basically too, like, when it comes to potential enforcement or violations, like the commission, what we've done generally in the past is, depending on the severity, I'll just either, send the property owner a letter and say, hey, reach out to me, try to get in contact with them some way, a little less formally, and then if there is like continued non-compliance, then up to an enforcement order. But it sounds like, let's see what we've done here in the past, and then I'll update y'all next meeting.
Yeah, I think in particular, we want to know if we've already discussed this area with the property owner.
Okay.
And perhaps in the meantime, it would make sense to send a copy of the tree cutting policy and, call out the fact that if you're within 50 feet of the wetland line, which we think that they likely are, that you need to conform with this policy. Make sure that they're not going to be doing any additional cutting without adhering to that while we look into the rest of it. That makes sense?
Yes. Okay, so send that to the property owner. I can do that. Okay. Excuse me. That was all I had for it.
All right.
6:9
Other updates?
I don't have any other project updates, for any other project. Oh, except for 200 Park Street, the school, which is item 5. And I did reach out to them with the concerns that we raised, Dan, at the last meeting, and then all the other kind of, stormwater questions that we had about cleaning stuff, and, they got back to me, and they kind of explained that they fixed all the silt fencing problems that I had identified before. But the cleaning of some of the other structures and finishing up certainly that rear bioretention pond in the back is not completed. So I'm not going to sign off, or this city engineer we're not comfortable with saying like, okay, on the stormwater management system there. And so they plan to come back in the spring to tackle those other remaining items.
It's all just on hold.
That's right. Yep, exactly.
And is everything there sufficiently stable?
Yeah, pretty much everything is stabilized. There's just kind of like the stormwater is just not going where they want to go in some of those systems. There's like silty material in there that should be cleaned out. So
Right.
There's one bearish area
Yes.
at the bottom of the hill.
Yep.
As you go in.
yeah, exactly. So that was one of the questions. I was like, what is supposed to be the final like state of that area that certainly isn't stabilized fully yet? But is that pond supposed to have vegetation in it? Like, are they supposed to clear that out, or what's going on there? So they're looking to be part of it in the spring.
Right, if there are no other updates, we can move on to general business. The meeting minutes to approve from December 12th.
I have a copy if anyone wants to see. Shouldn't pass
Really
that
approval.
as well.
I'll move to accept the minutes from December 12th.
I'll second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. August, Frederick, Ryan,
Aye.
Weeks,
Aye.
Carr,
I
motion carries. I think the wetlands ordinance discussion, we have not yet had a chance to have our subcommittee meeting, so that's still same status.
Yes. Yeah, and I prepared stuff for that meeting for tonight.
Okay.
And the only other item, unless anyone has any other questions about the wetlands ordinance, I have one other thing I wanted to talk about that I didn't make it on the agenda, but it's for open meeting law and site visits. Kind of related to the site visit that was canceled this weekend. If everyone's ready. So there is open meeting law, right? Says that a quorum of commissioners can't meet or be together without posting within 48 hours in advance that there's a meeting happening.
Okay.
There is an exception in the open meeting law for site visits, because typically you have a quorum, but you wouldn't think that you would need to post that as a public meeting. I am part of a group called MSMCP, which is it's kind of like MACC, but for conservation agents. Someone mentioned that in 2017, there was a decision made by the Attorney General's office regarding open meeting law and site visits. And basically, I have a copy of it here. But basically, the Rochester Zoning Board of Appeals completed a site visit. There happened to be a quorum there. They returned to the next meeting and described what they talked about at the site visit, which is what you think would be the appropriate order of operations. But they were sued on that. Someone felt like they had violated the open meeting law because they didn't completely have a record of what potentially had been discussed by that quorum of members at the site visit. And surprisingly, the Attorney General, or the decision came down that there basically are 3 ways that you can do a site visit. And if there happens to be a quorum, or 3 ways to do a site visit and still be in compliance with open meeting law. The first one is to post notice of the inspection as a meeting, provided only if the property was accessible to everyone, including members of the public. So in theory, posted like a regular Conservation Commission meeting, it's open to the public, we're having it. 2, visit the property as individuals or in groups that constitute less than a quorum so as to avoid deliberation among a quorum. And then option 3, visit the property as a quorum, but refrain from asking any questions of the property owner or otherwise discussing any matters within the board's jurisdiction until the board convenes at a properly noticed meeting. So don't talk at all at the site visit if you're going to have a quorum, which I could understand if someone was really into this, that would make them uncomfortable. Like, how can you prove no one talked? It's like, oh, and also would be really hard and maybe not as helpful of a site visit if you can't ask.
Correct. Yes.
So, that's part of the reason why the meeting got canceled, was because I had to shift the time because I realized that we were likely to have a quorum and we had to posted within 48 hours in advance. I had missed that deadline by an hour, so I had to move it back to 2, which I'd still be in compliance. And then it turned out no one was able to go anyway, so there we go. So I apologize for the runaround on that.
When they said it has to be accessible to the public, do they mean like you have to bring a Zoom camera?
It's a good question. It's a lot of questions like that come up.
No, I think it just means it needs to be open to the public, which when we're dealing with private property is a little bit of a funny issue. Yeah. So Kathy and I talked a little bit about this. Most of our site visits, when they happen during the week and they're smaller projects, we haven't been having a quorum anyway. So I think we can continue to proceed as we have been. But for some of these larger projects that have more interest, where everyone's interested in getting out there, we have to choose one of the other options. And one option here, I mean, I think it's most expedient if we can have, especially if we're trying to do these on weekends to accommodate commission members, it's most expedient if we only have to do it once. So I don't really like the idea of avoiding quorum by having multiple visits.
Right.
But then we have to get permission from the property owner to make it open to the public and deal with that if people do show up, which mostly, I mean, there's not a lot to deal with because we still aren't allowed to, or I guess technically we would be allowed to discuss.
Yes.
If we've announced it at an open meeting, but I don't want to do that. I want to keep our process the way it has been, where we have clarification questions on site,
So
but save all the
we
discussion
can talk to
here.
Dan Hitcheny and ask him questions and do
Right.
whatever, but as long as we don't talk about ourselves about making a decision about it.
Right, as we always have done,
As-
but
as
we
we always-
still have to post that as an open meeting based on this decision.
Right.
Do we have 2 minutes?
I think so.
Oh, boy. Can we take a vote?
I don't think we have 2 minutes if it's a meeting.
I don't like it. I don't like any of it. Doesn't make any sense.
I think that further in this decision, let's see.
Something happened with AG's up.
Well, this was 17, so it's not new.
Well, it must have been something.
Yeah.
Part of the finding, because they did a forum, they had a site visit, had a forum and didn't post it. The conclusion includes that additionally, we order the board to create minutes of the August 26th on-site inspection within 30 days of reception of this determination. So they wanted minutes at that time, so.
Probably the only board in the state is following this Rochester.
Right.
And I don't know that we need to make any decisions right now. I mean, it would be helpful if we could figure out a site visit, a time that could potentially work for people who are free, that so I can communicate to the project about a site visit, but.
Well,
no,
this
no.
might be our one big thing where the public will want to come for this particular project.
Yeah, they might be interested in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
How many people were planning to make the site visit when it was scheduled for 9:30? Or how many people want to make the site visit?
I was out of town Saturday, so I could.
But you would have been there otherwise, right?
I would have been there otherwise, yeah.
So we are gonna have a quorum if we don't divvy it up into another one. The minutes piece is very annoying.
And it would be a lot of policing, I think, on my part to make sure that the members of the public aren't, I need to keep track of what they're talking about and what's going on there as well. I think.
We just like one group of commissioners stand over
Yeah,
here,
right.
the other one stand like 20 feet away so we can't hear each other. African middle talking loud.
Down that count.
I don't think so.
we just pass notes.
I don't think so.
It just strikes me that there's some logistical challenges. If we, and indeed, thinking about the Tasty Top site and get a lot of public interest, are we going to have to conduct things so that everybody can be sure that they hear every question? I mean, it just seems
Right.
logistically
Yeah, right.
with the people involved. It's easy if it's 1 or 2 people. Right? It's not easy if it's 2 or 3 dozen.
In terms of going a route where avoiding quorum, then the public won't necessarily miss out on any discussion or deliberation because we would never have had a quorum of commissioners there. They're going to miss out on. And allowing the public access to the project site is not a requirement of the hearing.
So what are the site boards that, of what we can discuss if we're together as quorum?
If we post it and together as form, in theory, you guys could discuss anything.
So we can-
okay.
we can get that right,
No,
right?
I'm sorry, I phrased my question poorly. It's not a meeting. So then we can't deliberate. And a working definition of deliberation, we can still ask questions.
That's how
Not
we've always
according to-
treated it, Hal, but
Right.
this decision is saying you can't even do that.
Right.
Which is-
That's why we're having this
Okay,
discussion.
okay.
Because we've always treated it that way.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's decisions that are going to
But
be.
we've never made decisions at a site visit. We always bring it back here.
Yeah,
We ask
we
questions.
never,
I mean, what if
Discuss
only
it.
one or
Right,
two
yeah.
people asked? What if only one or two people were designated?
Doesn't matter.
It's the non-people who are there, unfortunately.
are the other Easthampton boards talking about this? Do they do site visits?
What's
Yeah,
the planning department doing?
Yeah.
It originally came up because the planning board typically does post their site visits for bigger projects. And they just,
Are they
just
taking-
as to keep people, no, I don't think that they were following it in this way. They were just posting
Right.
to keep people informed. And that was like offered, it was like, hey, this is gonna be a popular one, maybe you should post it as well. Okay, and then this came up, someone brought this to my attention. I was like, oh boy.
And do they have public show up?
I don't know, I don't think so. I mean, maybe just nothing has been popular enough to warrant someone wanting to go. But I can ask to make sure whether they have or not, but it seemed like no.
Ask that question, because
Yeah.
that's an important factor, because I mean, it seems like you also have some liability issues
Wait,
for the owner if you
Yes.
open it up
Dragging
to
people
anybody.
onto a property where
Right.
somebody getting injured.
Yeah,
or even the accessibility. That's why I asked about
Well, that
accessibility.
is a big question.
Wheelchairs have to be able to
Yeah,
go.
because it says in here, in that first option where you do post it, it says,
Yeah.
the first option says post notice of the inspection as a meeting, providing only if the property was accessible to everyone, including members of the public. Accessible.
First, yeah, we build new chairs. No.
Is there any way to call the attorney general? Clarify
I
some.
can call it like the attorney of the day and you can do that.
Except now the Attorney General has become the governor. Does that help?
That's true.
That's true.
That's
That's a new one.
That
I
is
don't
true.
remember who it is.
I don't remember who it is either.
I think, so do you know if the planning board has had a site visit? Because I'm gonna say maybe we could do a combined site visit. with-
That, excuse me.
Yeah.
I get someone else to take minutes.
Make it so that way it's slightly less of a hassle. You know, I feel like
I bet they've already been through the planning board a little bit to be this far along with drawings.
But there's also gonna be a lot of changes, so there might be a subsequent site visit. Yeah, so Cassie, that's a good thought too. Find out if there's gonna be a site visit that we could jump in on, the planning board's already doing.
I think that was something that I had heard already discussed, and I think the applicant was wary of doing that, just because it would be like a lot of different questions, a lot of different stuff. I'll double check. I need to double check.
Yeah.
But I feel like I remember talking about that.
I feel like we did that ages ago one time, but I don't remember details.
If you would give a call to the Attorney General's office and try to get some clarification. And then, if we're not allowed to continue the way we have been, and that's the clarification that comes back, then it seems like maybe we do need to go the route of multiple visits and avoiding quorum.
So,
It does
I
seem
know.
very silly
So part two,
and like an extra burden on the applicant, but
right.
The quorum is 4.
Michael's still on the board?
He is. He is.
a quorum is not a court.
Mike,
Which is a quorum.
It's not a quorum.
Depends on what the total number of commissioners is. It's a majority.
Oh, it's just a
I probably missed ones that he's been to and vice versa.
He wasn't here the last meeting, but with notice, and in this meeting, tentative notice. He didn't explicitly say he was going to come, but he said there was a good chance he was not going to make it. So I'm not surprised that he's not. This one too, so far. So,
Can I ask a question about the public comes and they want to turn to one of us and ask a question we can't?
If it's been posted as a public meeting, then yes, you could talk to them about it because it's been posted. There's no limitations on deliberation because it is a public meeting.
Right, that makes sense.
You on the minutes though.
But it would have to be on the minutes and like, I
So can we just record what we talk about and then have a digital recording and not have to write, type things down?
So
So here's a recording.
another thing I'd like to clarify with the Attorney General's office is if it's posted as a meeting, do we have to allow that discussion and deliberation? Because for the sake of everyone on the commission hearing the same things, I would like to stick with the same procedure that we've always
I
done,
agree with you.
where it's just clarification questions, regardless of whether
And we
we're allowed to
deliberate here.
deliberate or not, right?
Yeah.
Because that's much cleaner and that's always worked.
my
But if
thought,
we have to allow deliberation and hearing from the public, if it's listed as an open meeting,
my thought would be, I will ask them. But my thought would be that we have to open it up to public comment. And if you just never open it to public comment during this session,
are we allowed to do that?
I
That's what
will
I'm
check.
not-
Planning board did that the other night. They did not open, there were 100 people there and they made the decision to continue it. They didn't ask how anybody felt about it or what anyone thought about it. They just continued it and they weren't taking any comments.
So we may be allowed to do that, but I want to clarify
okay,
that.
We can have a meeting without a hearing, right?
what's that, sorry?
We can have a meeting without a hearing.
The Conservation Commission can have a meeting without hearing.
Yeah.
That's right.
I would probably.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe that's probably not an issue, but
Okay. No, I think that would be, if we did go that route, generally it would be a good course of action to like make an announcement and people like, we're not taking public comment, we're not talking about the project, we're looking at the project.
Yeah.
And then I would be there and try to like police it and like hope that that still happens.
If I was the applicant, I'd be like, all right, I need a liability waiver and an insurance.
That's right.
certificate From every member of the
Sure.
public that's gonna come on the property.
That's correct.
For sure.
and maybe if we post the notice and have that clearly stated in the notice as the process of site visit, maybe people won't come anyways.
That's
But I
what
have
I
a feeling you're still gonna have an occasional person who shows up for something like this.
Well, especially for a project like this one,
Right.
no?
So yeah, I have a bit of a template, that I posted the other one. And I do say that in there, like, it's not for deliberation, it's no discussion, just reviewing, but, make it clear that there wouldn't be public comment. But,
I had to sign a waiver, so if I ran myself over mowing the
yeah,
orchard,
right.
I couldn't sue the city.
That's right. Yep. I know, it's an interesting question. I mean, in theory, just talking generally, and again, not even just about this project, like, if we go the route, even though it's potentially burdensome to applicants to meet more than once, going the route of avoiding quorum will ensure that no one is missing out. The public is not missing out on deliberation. It's not possible because we don't have a quorum.
Right,
And then also we have our, the commission policy not to discuss
that's
or ask
correct.
questions like that.
My guess is if I was the applicant and I got to choose to not have to field public comments, I would be willing to do more than.
Well, they'll still have to face public comment just at a
Right,
public
but not
posted
on
meeting.
site and not in an unprepared. Often.
It becomes a tough question though, because they're undoubtedly paying their consultants for those hours.
That's correct. And
That's true.
the public asking all kinds of crazy questions that you're tied to the engineer or something.
But even if it's just us at the site visit, we would have to do it twice.
Yeah,
They're paying for that
the
too.
person coming back twice.
Yeah.
Alternatively, I don't know if this makes sense for projects, is for that do one site visit. I'll go to both, I can go to any of them. I'll go to the first one with that has the applicant there, and then to do another one that's just me and a delay. What I learned doesn't seem as helpful, but
No.
okay.
All right, so we need to get some additional clarification. And then I think, we can
Talk about it.
decide at the next meeting.
Okay. Do people tentatively want to like email me dates that they would be available for free?
Between now and the next meeting or after the next?
Both, I guess.
I think it makes the most sense, to Dan's point, to wait until we've seen and had
Yeah,
some explanation of the new materials. So let's schedule it at the next meeting.
okay.
And that also will get us closer to when the visit would actually be, so we'll know more what the weather's likely to do, because it could be very variable anytime in the next few weeks.
Mhm.
And that next meeting is it 2 weeks out or is it 3?
23rd.
2 weeks out, okay. Yeah, so let's see what they bring us at that meeting and then schedule from there.
Okay, cool. You know what to do. Sorry.
Anything further?
Motion to adjourn.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. August? Aye. Patrick? Aye. Ryan?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Carr?
Hi.
Motion carries. It is 6:57. We are adjourning this meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. Our next meeting will be January 23rd at 6 p.m.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.